Actually, all securities are commodity under the Commodity and Exchange Act. It's that we are excluded commodities. But I would agree that a security cannot be also an excluded commodity and an included commodity. I'm sorry, Chair, just to talk about the Commodity Exchange Act.
Welcome back to the Sovereign Ratio. If you're new here, please hit the like button, the subscribe button, and leave me a comment below. The Earth is a security. Gemini pokes fun at Chair GENSLER as XRP gets relisted on the exchange. Also, as we can see here on Live Coin Watch, Bitcoin's sitting at a very boring $29,400, where it seemingly has been for weeks now. Maybe it's not been weeks, I have no idea. We'll look at TA at the end of the video just as a bonus, but for now, we're going to focus on the story with Gemini, XRP, Bitcoin, and Gary Gensler. So here's the story as reported on CryptoGlobe.com. Gemini pokes fun at SEC and Chairman Gensler in XRP listing announcement. Gemini, a leading US-based cryptocurrency exchange, recently announced the addition of its XRP product back to its trading platform. However, it wasn't just a simple listing announcement. The exchange took a humorous jab at the US Securities and Exchange Commission, and specifically Gary Gensler, in a promotional video accompanying the announcement. I'm not going to show the entire video here, but it is very viewable just about anywhere you go look, especially Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it nowadays. However, here is a tweet from Bill Morgan, whoever that is, Belissasaurus 2020, saying, "My favorite image, all the Earth is a security, so XRP leaves for the moon. Very biting. Do Gemini and the SEC have history?" Well, as you can see there, clearly calling the Earth a security is a huge poke at Chair Gensler, because he's filed so many Wells notices claiming everything is a security. And quite frankly, we all know by now he is the most corrupt government agency leader that I can think of in recent memory. There's been a lot of them, but this guy he's a scumbag, and everybody knows he's a scumbag. So it's really no secret at this point that he's going to get made fun of. It's no secret that he doesn't really know what he's talking about, and it's no secret that XRP has been deemed in court to not be a security. So, as most of you know, there's a lot of excitement right now with the filing of spot Bitcoin ETFs by major organizations and asset institutions like Fidelity, BlackRock, JP Morgan, ARK Invest, etc. The list goes on, especially since the deadlines for those are coming up just around the Bitcoin halving. And if those were to be simultaneously approved in conjunction with the Bitcoin halving, it could be a massive run-up in price. Who knows? In a contrarian viewpoint, former SEC attorney John Stark seems to think that it might be likely that none of these get approved and all get simultaneously rejected due to the potential for manipulation and Bitcoin being owned majority by a very few. However, further down in the article, he also notes that the 2024 presidential election could have a major impact on the way that Bitcoin is handled and regulated in the United States. Considering that the Democrats control the majority of Congress and also our president is Democrat, as is SEC Chair Gensler. I'm personally in the camp that the comments by Stark are not quite as relevant as the simple fact that most people loathe Chair Gensler, for lack of better words. He's been ripped by Congress, which I've shown and we're going to show again here in just momentarily. Even Democrats don't like him and think he's doing an absolutely terrible job. And quite frankly, there's a lot of consideration of him maybe colluding with Elizabeth Warren or Sam Bankman-Fried, or there's just a lot of really negative press and a lot of really bad shadows cast over him. And it's pretty obvious because he does nothing in person or in interviews to mitigate this whatsoever. He just continues to make a fool of himself, as we're going to see as Mr. Huizenga here drills him in front of Congress.
And the most interesting and frankly dumbest example of this that we received to date is a copy of a letter that myself and Chairman McHenry sent you congratulating you as being confirmed as chair in 2021. I have that one in my file already. So frankly, it's insufficient and frankly unacceptable what has been going on. I think it's an embarrassment to you and to your team that you sent me a copy of the letter I sent you and then tried to call that responsive. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And further, your response letter to the chairman and myself, the SEC staff admitted that the proposed rule, quote, could increase costs, quote, close quote, related to energy prices under certain circumstances, but you provided no analysis, the actual information that we were looking for, not my letter to you congratulating you as becoming chair.
Chair Gensler, I have a lot of questions in a limited amount of time, so if you could keep your answers to either a yes or a no, that will allow us to get through as many as possible, sir. From your perspective, is it more difficult now for the digital asset industry to access financial products and services in the United States than it was, say, 2 years ago?
Sir, I'm not running one of those businesses. If they came into compliance, I think that would
Reclaiming
be
my time. The answer, sir, is yes. Do you think you and the SEC have had a role to play in that?
I think we have a role to protect the American investor and the capital markets and the
Reclaiming my time, sir. You have played an obvious role in that. There are 5 members on the commission. Do you believe your speeches and interviews are to serve as the official position of the SEC?
I can only speak for myself when I'm speaking.
Again, sir, in a statement on the SEC website, you are quoted saying the Kraken staking as a service enforcement action should make clear to the marketplace that staking as a service providers must register. But again, you haven't provided any rules for how that can be done. I must remind you, your public statements are not regulations. It's not responsible to expect the American people to assume your statements are a substitute for rules.
So it should come as no surprise that the Winkelvoss Twins and Gemini are poking fun at Gensler because he has not done anything worthwhile for any of us, you, me, or anybody in the world, by causing all this trouble and issuing so many Wells notices with digital assets that clearly are commodities and not securities. For me, it's akin to having a whole handful of darts and having a blindfold on and just throwing darts at a random target and hoping one sticks. It's doing no good for the industry, and it's actually causing a stifling in innovation in the United States, a country that needs to be on the cutting edge of technology with these premier digital assets. So as promised at the end, a brief TA on Bitcoin. First, I want to note that the weekly hash ribbons indicator has turned into a buy signal for the first time since this candle here in January of 2023. Generally, whenever the hash ribbon prints a buy signal, with the exception of 2 instances, one being the flu dump back in 2020, the price has never gone below the previous low where the previous buy point was. So in this case, our low down here at around 15.5, only twice has this signal led to price going below that point. There have been 15 instances of this in the past, and 13 of those signals have worked out to the upside and not gone below the previous point for about an 87% hit rate. Zooming in on the weekly chart, we can see other instances of those buy signals. Again, back in 2023, which led to the rally that we've seen this year. We have another one back here in August of 2021, was at the bottom of this small dump after the first peak of the previous bull run, before the next run up to 69,000. We have another one here in November of 2020, which was kind of right after this big move up that Bitcoin had. Took a little sideways break for a couple of weeks, and hash ribbon printed another buy, which led to the first massive run up in the bull run. Back here we have another one, which was just after the flu dump, which did lead to a pretty substantial move. I'm not sure exactly what that is. It's probably in the neighborhood of 130%, which is very strong. And basically every other one except the flu dump and one other has led to a massive run up and basically a bottom in the market. So in my opinion right now, there's about an 87% chance that Bitcoin is bottomed. So if you buy Bitcoin now, or if you DCA down, or you wait for it to go down more, there's a very, very high likelihood that we've seen the bottom, and it's better things to come in the future, especially in about 6 to 8 months, I would say. Something else important to note is that on every single time frame from the 5-day down to the 1-day, the BBWP is bottomed and flashing a blue signal. There's the 5-day, the 4-day, the 2-day, and the 1-day, BBWP being down here on the bottom. Also on the daily chart, stochastic is freshly turning down on both the ultimate variety and the regular non-smooth variety that I don't have listed right now. And RSI is just sitting in the middle of range. It's been a lot of really boring sideways. The market has never been so contracted and spring-loaded as it is now. So in my opinion, whatever direction Bitcoin chooses next is going to be a very big one. In my opinion, we're looking at like somewhere in the mid 40s, probably a stop in the 35 to 37 range, and then ultimately mid 40s if the direction is up, and then probably down to like the 26 area. And if it continues on down there, maybe down to like the 20 area. I'm not so sure that Bitcoin will ever go below 20K again. Definitely could, but there are a lot of buy orders and a lot of liquidity sitting in that 20 to 21K area. It would take a great deal of effort for bears to push price down below that. But if they did, then watch out. The floor is wherever it is. Probably starting at the all-time low at 15.5 or for this cycle, and then going down from there to some people like Gareth Soloway who say it's going to be 9 or 12K Bitcoin. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm always open to that happening because I have extra cash waiting to deploy. Unfortunately, I hate basing TA, at least short-term TA, off of a diagonal trend line, but right now I really feel like that's the best thing. I've got my Gaussian channel pulled up here. Bitcoin is currently sitting under the median line of the Gaussian channel on the daily chart, which is not great. We do have this uptrending level of support here at this diagonal trend line around 28.5. If that were to break, then I could potentially see Bitcoin coming and doing something like this, and then we would be forming another trend line here for these two lines. Having Bitcoin maybe come back up to this area here at 28.8 and then down to the next support here at 25.5. Really, it would be what I would think if Bitcoin breaks this trend line. That's logical TA. Of course, this is not a logical market, but something like this. Bam, retest of this, and then down for this resistance and support level right here. Conversely, if Bitcoin were to do the opposite, again, we would see a break of this trend line, a retest on the other side of this X here around 29.4 if it were to break, and then maybe up here to this resistance area around 37K. We kind of have a nice little box here to look at that's between 35 and 37K. So I'm going to pull up a little rectangle here. It's around that area down to about that area. So I could see Bitcoin coming to that area. Let's get our brush out again. And then maybe having resistance, and then maybe ping-ponging around in here for a little bit, and then up to 37, where there would be a significant amount of resistance, and then from there we would see. But those are kind of the two scenarios I'm looking at right now. One final thing to note is we do have two drives of oversold here on the daily ultimate stochastic, which generally followed by a bullish divergence would be representative of upside movement. Could we see further downside movement? Absolutely, because again, the K has crossed down the D, but I'm looking at two areas of oversold as well as a bullish divergence on that stochastic. So hopefully you had a simultaneous laugh and disappointment with me for Chair Gensler, and hopefully Bitcoin TA helped you out with some short-term and maybe long-term planning decisions. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button, the like button, leave me a comment below. I appreciate having you all of you on my channel and happy to reply to your comments. And we will see you in the next video. Safe trading.